Welcome to 2K Sports. We've got basketball. I'm Damon Bruce. Saturday in the NBA. It's going to be the Dallas Mavericks up against Al Horford and the Atlanta Hawks. And now, here's my friend Kevin Harlan and the rest of the 2K crew. I'll check back with you at the break with the HP Halftime Report.
It's the Dallas Mavericks on the road in this interconference game. The fans are making noise here at Phillips Arena. The Atlanta Hawks getting settled in. So glad you can join us for this presentation of 2K Sports in the NBA. This is Kevin Harlan. Joining me, Steve Kerr and Clark Kellogg. Here are the starters for Dallas, brought to you by State Farm. Dirk Nowitzki and Tyson Chandler in the middle. Rudy Fernandez out there with Jason Kidd, and it's Butler in at the 3, the small forward. And for the Hawks, Heinrich and Johnson in the backcourt. Smith out there with Horford, and it's Collins in at the 5.
Well, Atlanta was in the playoffs a year ago, but they were not as strong as they were the previous year. And one of the reasons, their home record suffered a bit.
So Dallas will get the first possession. Nowitzki kicks to Butler. Now Smith defending. Kidd working against Heinrich. Kidd against Heinrich. From deep three-point range, Kidd, no good. And on that Atlanta Hawks team, still a good team. We talked about the problems at home, not as dominant perhaps as before. I mean, sure, Clark, every coach, winning at home becomes priority number 1.
You know, when you look at their numbers, they won 34 a season ago and then just 24 in the recent season. I mean, that's a 33% drop. That's a significant change.
It is. And now Doris Burke has an update from the sidelines.
Yes, Kevin, I briefly spoke with Larry Drew. He said that he has a team prepped for the shot blockers their opponents feature and has a countermeasure for it. He said we're going to turn things around on them, getting them up in the air with pump fakes, creating some contact, and get them in foul trouble. Let's see if they're successful.
Terrific, Doris. Thanks. They put a lot of thought into how they're going to match up against the opposing defense, guys.
Well, one of the things you got to do here, Kevin, and Steve, you can't afford empty possessions against this team. You've got to put the ball in the basket.
Yeah, that's for sure, Clark. You got to make them count because you know you're not going to get a lot of open looks. So make sure you make the defense move the ball, try to get good looks, and make them pay.
Off on that one, so he goes 1 for 2 at the line.
You know, guys, Dallas kind of gets slept on in terms of playoff action because they've been so disappointed in recent years, but they worked hard all season, and the hard work has its reward.
Great perspective. There's the pass to Fernandez. And Nowitzki backs in with the fadeaway. Butler against Smith. Butler passes it to Kidd. He kicks it to Fernandez. Some good ball movement here. Another shot. Dallas again missing. Clark, back to Dallas. They weren't really talked about as a contender, and some even had them losing to Portland in the first round. Then, Steve, that Los Angeles upset, that sweep got everybody's attention.
Sure did. They took the first 2 games in L.A., then they blew out the Lakers in Game 4 to finish off the sweep. Just an incredible series, and I think that was the series that was the springboard for Dallas into the finals and past the Miami Heat. When they beat the Lakers, Dallas knew they could win the whole thing.
Horford, no luck.
Cannot count on him to miss a good look like that very often.
Now here's Kidd, not a lot of room. There's the triple, another 3 for Dallas.
You are really living dangerously if you let him roam free in three-point land. He's a dangerous marksman from out there. To start last season, Rudy Fernandez demanded a trade from the Blazers. Said he wanted to go back to Spain or to a city like New York, Chicago, or Boston, where he could get direct flights to Spain. What was he thinking about?
Outside Kid takes a three, and it's Johnson with the rebound. You're right about Fernandez. He really wanted out of Portland. He threatened to sit out games, got fined by the NBA, and then once the season started, Steve ended up rescinding his trade demand.
Yeah, and he really didn't get any more minutes last season, but he appeared happier. He felt like he had a more defined role with the Blazers, and I thought that came in handy for him. He seemed to fit in much better and become a relatively consistent role player for the Blazers.
That free throw, no good.
And Al Horford, kind of an old-school power forward, 6'10", strong, a rebounder, can knock down a 15-footer. But he is just a lunch pail type of guy, really hard worker.
Pachulia, he's checked in for the Hawks. Teague comes in for Kirk Heinrich. And then for Dallas, Haywood comes in for Chandler. And it's Terrian for Rudy Fernandez. And the second free throw, good. And Al Horford, you're right, Steve, he is a natural power forward. He is a hard worker. But because of his strength and tenacity, he's able to hold down the center position for his Hawks team.
And Kevin, he and Josh Smith make a terrific tandem in the front court. I mean, they're both really pretty athletic, and they can impact the game at both ends of the floor. And they're reasonably versatile, even though undersized for their respective positions in some cases. They get the job done. You look at Joe Johnson and the number of minutes he's already logged in his career, and you wonder about him needing maybe to log fewer as he goes forward and gets a little older. You just don't know how much more effective he can be if he continues to log the heavy minutes.
That's good from Johnson. Looking at those numbers, Clark, about Joe Johnson. 4 seasons over 40 minutes a game. 3 others over 38 minutes a game. Steve, I think it's starting to take its toll, perhaps.
Well, it could. I think the one thing about Joe Johnson, though, he doesn't really rely on athleticism in his game. He relies more on footwork and strength and power and skill. And so he's going to be able to be a very effective player for a long time as long as he stays healthy.
Johnson against Terry. Left side, Terry. Buries it from 14 feet.
There's that little sweet spot, that mid-range jumper.
1:36 left here in the first quarter.
Boy, you look at the way the Hawks finished last season, you thought they'd slip early in the playoffs, but they came out a different team.
The Mavericks leading, and it's Johnson picking him up. Here's Teague. Back to the Hawks. They went into the postseason losing 6 in a row.
Obviously something clicked, though. They won their opener in the playoffs in Orlando, went on to win that series, and took Chicago to 6 games as well, Kevin.
That is a terrific play. You hear me? A terrific play. I call that a room service dime because all he had to do was catch and finish.
Now here's Chandler. Still looking to get on the scoreboard. Back to Terry. Chandler with the screen on Johnson. The tray. And it's Butler missing.
Really good offensive execution. Nice pick. Just couldn't get the shot to go.
Boy, you love to see that as a basketball purist. Guy setting a good screen and then getting the shot opportunity.
And here's Kidd from the arc. And the shot is good. Kidd's got 6 points.
You know, guys, he's always looking for that open three. I mean, that's his strength. And sometimes the best time to get the three is in transition.
Jumps up. Marvelous lead pass, and he throws it down.
Beautiful pass there.
And Dallas has possession. Terry outside. And it's Horford picking him up. Takes the three. Here's Chandler. Lays it up, and despite of the excellent defense at that, Chandler's got his first basket. Here's Pachulia. Teague kicks to Smith. Some solid defense from Butler.
And the defender, the rotation came over, really seemed to bother him, and that threw that shot off.
And a high-scoring first quarter. Both teams really filling it out. Mavericks lead by 3.
Boy, a ton of threes in that first quarter. This team really lighting it up, guys.
Yeah, it's been an onslaught from downtown.
And we'll return momentarily. And we got a close game here as we get back to the second quarter. Here's Heinrich. And now, brought to you by Gatorade, all fueled up and ready to go. Let's reset our lineups. On the floor right now for the Mavericks, J.J. Barea is out there with Terry. Then there's Marion. Then there's Nowitzki. And it's Butler in at the small forward.
Joe Johnson gets a lot of the credit on the Hawks, and I think he deserves quite a bit of it, quite honestly. But you wonder how his big contract will affect the other players like Josh Smith and Al Horford.
Good point. And a chance here to catch up with the fourth member of our crew, Doris Burke. Hi, Doris.
Hey, Kevin. Well, one of the keys to the Mavs title was their ability to turn the corner and doing so on the defensive end of the floor. They identified it as a problem from the year before and worked on it consistently from the opening practice. As Coach Rick Carlisle said, I think our guys realize that hard, consistent defense and staying with a system is the most important part of our success. Defense wins championships, guys.
Thank you, Doris. That change in D helped lead them to a title.
The Mavs have always been a great offensive team, but really the difference for them last year was how they turned it up on the defensive end.
And Clark, to extend that point, you're talking about Johnson. He's a leader, but his numbers aren't too far ahead of those guys right now. Steve, this is kind of an interesting look.
Well, I think Joe Johnson, he's got a big contract. He's a good player, an all-star caliber player, but not a superstar. And sometimes when you get that big number next to your contract, it puts a lot of pressure on you. And I think Johnson has been under a microscope there in Atlanta.
And that one falls, and that puts him up by 1 point.
Fellas, it's no secret that Dallas isn't afraid to spend or go into the luxury tax, but in their march to get better, they haven't been very careful with the contracts they've given out.
Now here's Terry. Second shot opportunity. The shot by Marion, no good. And the Hawks with possession. They haven't allowed any points in the second quarter. Here's Barea. The shot is off. Now Atlanta takes it the other way. Johnson dishes to Collins. Not really his range, and it's off target. Back to what you said about the Mavs, it seems they can't find the right center to fit them, and they keep giving out dubious contracts. And Steve, you know as well as anybody being in the front office, and Clark, you too at the Pacers. I mean, it's 50-50 a lot of times.
Yeah.
You just don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, you've got to manage those acorns.
Steve?
Yeah, the personnel decisions are always difficult, especially when it comes to big money deals. But I thought Tyson Chandler really solidified that center position for Dallas last year.
Here's Johnson, and he finishes nicely on the layup. Johnson's got 4 points now in the quarter.
That's how you exploit that defense. Take the ball right to the basket.
Barea kicks to Terry. Tipped away.
And a nice swipe there. You could see his eyes get wide open when he saw the opportunity to take the ball.
The shot by Heinrich no good. The Mavericks trailing. And here's Barea. Back to Butler. And he flushes it through. Sprite Slamcam with the replay. Several lead changes going on here in the early portion of this game.
Yeah, but neither team really able to jump ahead.
Yeah, 5 times already the lead has changed.
And it's the Hawks' ball. They trail by 1.
Tough season last year for Caron Butler. He was playing so well before he went down with that torn patellar tendon. So hopefully he'll come back and have a strong season this year.
Steve, that patella tendon injury really a major setback. I mean, Caron is one of the toughest players in the league and has been since he stepped foot in the NBA. If anybody can come back from that, I think he can.
And the first one drops.
You know, the Hawks did not secure home court advantage in the playoffs last season, and a few games they dropped in that chase were against the Western Conference.
Looking at who's out there now for the Hawks. Al Horford is checked in for foul. Smith comes in for Marvin Williams. And it's Crawford in for Joe Johnson. And then for Dallas, Tyson Chandler. He's checked in for Butler. Fernandez comes in for Jason Terry. And Jason Kidd has subbed in for J.J. Barea. Well, Clark, you brought the Hawks and the West only 13 wins in 30 games for them against Western Conference opponents. Steve, that's going to have to improve.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to want to be a top seed in your conference, I think you have to play 500 ball at least against the other conference. And Atlanta certainly looking to make improvement this year.
And let's now go to the sideline. We'll catch up here with Doris Burke. Doris?
Well, guys, how about Jason Kidd? In his late 30s, microfracture knee surgery back in 2004, but he's still going strong. Kidd talked about Hall of Famer John Stockton and said, "If I could come close to doing what he did at his age, I would be very happy. I just try to anticipate and use my wisdom against the younger guys. If I can do that till I'm 40, 41, that'd be great. As long as they have a job for me, I'd love to play." Gotta like his chances, guys.
You said it, Doris. Thanks.
And you mentioned the Hall of Fame. I mean, no doubt that Jason Kidd will be there when it's all said and done.
No question. One of the all-time great point guards.
Here's Crawford, looking for his first bucket of the game. And foul called as he misses. He'll go to the line and shoot two. They get Sean Marion.
And, you know, Jamal Crawford, you think about him in that first-round series against Orlando, guys. How good was he? I mean, he just lit them up. The smaller Magic backcourt had no answer for him.
First one falls for him.
Well, going back to Crawford, guys, in that Orlando series, I thought he was the difference offensively. He shot 52% from beyond the three-point line, about 6 free throws per game. He put on a real show offensively. He was fantastic.
Pachulia, he's checked in for Atlanta. Teague comes in for Kirk Heinrich. Dallas also making some changes. Brendan Haywood, he's checked in for Nowitzki. And it's Terry in for Sean Marion.
And once again, the Mavs were a terrific road team last year, winning 28 games and losing 13 away from Dallas.
Now here's Terry, offline from the high post.
Boy, he had a good look there.
Got to take those when they come.
Here's Crawford. Jason Kidd grabs the miss. You know, Clark, you always don't think of them that way, but the Mavs have been a great team on the road for quite some time.
You know, you do overlook that, Kevin, until you look at the numbers. I mean, I'm not sure why it is, but they consistently are at the top of the NBA in road wins year to year. Even closed out their first-round playoff win last year on the road. That's always impressive.
Just adds to what has already been a great day for him.
Here's Pachulia over Haywood. And that one goes long. We'll be back momentarily.
Welcome to the HP Halftime Report. I'm Damon Bruce. A great game going on out at Phillips Arena. For the Dallas Mavericks, they have the lead against Atlanta. They're getting after it on the offensive boards, making plays with sheer energy. We've seen Jason Kidd producing at will against the Hawks. He's got a dozen points and digging in on defense as well, putting in good work on both ends of the floor. A scrappy effort by Atlanta. Getting to the line has yielded them points. It's also put their opponents into foul trouble early. Leading his team in scoring, Joe Johnson. After 2, he's got 6 points and has been a huge helper on the boards as well. That's it for us here in the studio. Thank you for joining. Now, send you back to the second half action.